Hello and welcome to this training on grievance mechanisms. My name is Kelly and I will be introducing this session and facilitating Module 1 of this training. This training was developed by the Aluminum Stewardship Initiative, BSR, the Copper Mark, and the Responsible Minerals Initiative. This training consists of 3 modules and will take approximately 40 minutes to complete. It aims to provide stakeholders in the mineral supply chain with a basic understanding of grievance mechanisms, an overview of international standards, and practical approaches to establishing and maintaining a best practice mechanism. While the course is open to any interested stakeholder, it is designed for corporate functions and local employees who are involved in the setting up and running of a grievance mechanism, including HR, sustainability, and legal functions. It is also intended to be completed by auditors who oversee compliance with ASI, Copper Mark, and the Responsible Minerals Initiative requirements on grievance mechanisms. Upon completion of this training, participants will be able to describe the types, processes, and elements of a grievance mechanism, as well as its purpose and benefits for a business and different stakeholders, including staff, third-party workers, and local communities. Develop an understanding of international standards and requirements on grievance mechanisms, and learn how to move beyond compliance to be a leading example in the industry. And be equipped with the practical approaches, tools, and examples to establish, improve, and run a grievance mechanism. Let's begin with Module 1, which provides an introduction to grievance mechanisms. Let's start with some real-life and fictional examples of how adverse impacts and community concerns can escalate into real harms to people and disruptions for a business. The first real case concerns a Canadian mining company which was recently taken to court in Canada over human rights abuses connected to its operations in Central America, including violations of Indigenous rights and community health and safety. In response, the Canadian courts ruled for the first time that companies can be held accountable in Canada for human rights abuses that occur abroad. Now let's look at a fictional example. In this case, a global NGO published a report which details widespread labor rights violations and sexual harassment at the subsidiaries of a multinational mining company across Africa and Latin America. In response, the company receives an influx of questions on working conditions from shareholders, media, NGOs, trade unions, and several governmental authorities where it operates. After commissioning an in-depth investigation of the working conditions of its subsidiaries, the multinational government discovers that a majority of the allegations are founded and designs a remediation plan to address concerns. These case studies, real or based on common occurrences, indicate the consequences of companies not proactively listening to or addressing stakeholder concerns. In these cases, the failure to address actual and potential risks early has caused significant harms to the rights holders involved. It has also led to reputational harm, stakeholder scrutiny, legal liabilities, and operational disruption for the business. An effective grievance mechanism is one way to identify issues before they become major harms and risks. It can help a company be better positioned to identify and understand community concerns before they become more serious. We'll take a look more closely at how this can be achieved throughout this training. A grievance mechanism offers a channel for various stakeholders or rights holders to raise concerns about existing or potential negative impacts of business activities. A grievance can be raised by the person impacted by the harm or by a legitimate proxy or representative of that person. A grievance mechanism is an effective way to identify and mitigate harms to people, provide remediation, and prevent future human rights risks. It is important to note that while we use the term grievance mechanism in this training, it can go by other names, including a complaints mechanism. You will also come across the term rights holder in this training. By this, we are referring to the individual or groups whose human rights are or may be affected by the business. Examples of rights holders include full-time workers, part-time and contract workers, workers of suppliers, contractors or business partners, community members, and consumers or end users of products. Rights holders may use a grievance mechanism to provide feedback to a company or to report an issue, complaint, or concern. For example, a worker at an industrial plant anonymously said that she had been the subject of sexual harassment by her boss. A local farmer alleges that the pollution from a nearby smelter is affecting the soil and damaging his corn crop. An indigenous community leader complains that the mine's tailings are entering into the local water source. All these issues and many others, including health and safety risks, security incidents, unfair or improper land acquisition, impacts to indigenous people, labor rights violations, whistleblowing on corporate ethical standards, and bribery or corruption can be reported via a grievance mechanism. A grievance mechanism can exist at both the state and non-state levels. State-based mechanisms include those provided by court systems or non-judicial bodies, like an ombudsperson. Non-state-based mechanisms include those provided by regional or international bodies, or directly by a company. For this training, we will focus on company-level grievance mechanisms, which are channels that are offered by companies for receiving complaints. An effective grievance mechanism ensures rights holders have an open and safe avenue to voice concerns, and that a business responds to concerns in a timely, respectful manner and provides remedy for harms. There are a number of ways in which a grievance mechanism can benefit businesses as well as rights holders. Having a grievance mechanism acts as an early warning system for companies to identify issues before they escalate, or stakeholders explore alternative avenues for accountability, including public protest or formal legal processes. A grievance mechanism is a critical component of a business's monitoring and evaluation process, needed to ensure a business meets expectations set out in international standards and existing and emerging business and human rights legislation. A grievance mechanism can also facilitate productive and proactive two-way and direct dialogue among rights holders. When rights holders can raise concerns as they happen, businesses can more effectively identify threats before they become major harms and risks. Responding to concerns and complaints helps to increase transparency and build trust and credibility among rights holders, especially at the local community level. Engaging rights holders in the remediation process can help to increase rights holder ownership, secure acceptable solutions, all of which help a business to get ahead and prevent future harms from occurring. This concludes Module 1 of this training.